Here's the interesting thing to me, the most interesting thing about this whole Blake Chapin thing. Chapin was really, really bad on Saturday. There have been some games you leave thinking really bad. Other games you leave thinking he's the best guy at handing the ball off in America. That guy's handoffs are great. And then other games you think Chapin, he filled the role, made passes when he needed to on third down. Good. This game was just bad. Here's why I don't think Baylor made a change, and they won't make a change. You literally cut Gerry Bohanon out of the program for a guy a couple years younger, said goodbye to Gerry, who took you to a Sugar Bowl, and took a risk on Blake Chapin that has not paid off. And pulling Chapin for drones wholly admits that. And that is not a good look. The optics on that are not very good.
I love Gerry. But do you really think Baylor would be in a better spot right now if they had Gerry Bohanon at quarterback?
They'd have less turnovers. 100%. They'd have less turnovers. They'd have a mobile quarterback.
Gerry was slinging it a little free and loose at the end of the season last year.
And I want to clarify here. I don't like that question you asked me right there. I want to clarify this. I'm not even saying that Gerry Bohanon necessarily would have been better than Blake Chapin or they made the wrong decision. I'm not even saying that. At this point, it is just a simple fact of they cannot bench Blake Chapin. Otherwise, they're admitting.
Like for an ego thing, you're saying?
Even just like you took a whole person, like a real human being, Gerry Bohanon, who spent 3 years at Baylor and said, see you later. And now you're benching the guy who you said see you later for. That's tough. That's not good.
But look, I mean, they're in the business of winning games. Dave Aranda cut Larry Fedora right loose after 1 year.
That was quick.
He was this is not working. He's a person too. And, I don't buy that. Will it happen?
Why is Blake Chapin still out there? Why is Blake Chapin still out there?
I don't know. He stuck with Charlie Brewer the whole year in 2020 as well.
Who else is going to play in 2020?
Everyone was calling for Zeno in 2020.
It was Zeno.
And it turned out Zeno wasn't very good. And so they probably made the right decision there. It was, swings and rotaries. They were going to suck anyway. But I don't know. Maybe Kyron Jones isn't ready to start a game yet. I'm not sure. He's looked good in the flashes that we've seen.
Yeah.
But then again, Zeno did the same thing. And so I've learned from that because I was calling for Zeno every game in 2020. I was calling for it. Oh. So I have learned my lesson. Maybe they do know a little bit more about us or than us or about us. They're pretty smart.
They didn't know she was knowledgeable about football. They didn't know.
It's tougher in the 2020 sense because, again, loved what Charlie did for the program, but he sucked every game. They sucked every game. Blake's had some good games.
Fedora also had Charlie throwing the ball 55 times a game. I will throw that out there as well. Fedora was a big problem.
Right. And clearly there is an identity to this team. And in the games that they've lost, they just haven't gotten in the right situation to get there. Am I saying that right to sound right? They want the RVO. They got into the RVO every game last year. And for the most part, obviously overwhelmingly, it worked. Even when they were behind in some games.
Yes.
But this year, it's they started, we didn't know if they were going RVO again, and then they went really balanced for a couple of weeks there to mixed results. RVO the last couple of weeks, got 3 wins in a row. Didn't feel like they were in their comfort zone last night either. So I'm wondering, maybe what is the offensive identity?
Yes.
And so that's why I think maybe they do stick with the guy who is a little bit more experienced. I know he hasn't played a full season yet, but it's also tough to throw Kyron Jones in there, I think. Now, if they give him a shot, am I going to be pissed off? No. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I will reason with you here. The RVO is great, except for when you're down by 10, basically. And that's been the issue. Right. It's not necessarily this wouldn't work. Had they scored on that possession where Shapen throws the interception, you're in a much better spot to start running the football and trying to take back control of the clock. I'll say this. I'm at my desk. This right here is a picture of me and my old roommate, Caleb. That's me and my old roommate, Caleb. Caleb played football at Pleasant Grove. Actually won a state championship at PG against Gilmer. They don't win a lot of titles at Gilmer. I would have rather had Caleb at quarterback than Blake Chapin on Saturday. He never played quarterback, by the way. I
But
don't think
got
he
that
ever.
ring.
Yes, but I like damn good at handing the ball off.
It
Really
is
good at that.
crazy that this is the same guy who started 17 for 17 in
In the
Big
Big
12
12
championship.
championship game.
And Oklahoma State was not only a great defense, but they had some film on him. This was not his first appearance, and he wasn't chucking it 20 yards down the
Had
field
a
every time.
start the
But
week
it was a
prior.
good offense.
Right.
It was
Same quarterback
not
too that
absolute
against Albany, we were like, yeah, I mean, not everything was great, but Shapen was. He's the truth.
almost perfect. And
the answer.
Thinking he could be a first team Big 12 quarterback.
And now it's not even like it's you couple some bad decisions with when he makes the right decision, it's a bad throw. And when he makes a good throw, the receivers don't catch it. There's just not a lot of good things here, which does make me think you put Kyron Drones in, what's going to change? Probably, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you guys. Probably not much. Probably not much. Let's just be completely real here. I don't think putting Kyron Drones into the Kansas State game, Baylor would come back and win the game. I just don't see that happening. However, what's the definition of insanity? You keep trying the same thing, expecting different results.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go ahead.
No, and what did Baylor do? They kept doing the same thing. Like 3rd down and 8, they pulled the whole like, let's run it off right tackle with Blake Chapin and see what happens. Kid just gets walloped. All right.
So are you now in the mindset of like, how will it hurt if we just play Kyron Drones the next 2 games?
Kind of.
Because I can buy that. At this point, it's a crazy. They're still in it, but to me, what's the difference between 8-4 and 6-6? Really?
You know what? Patricia kind of had a point here. I'm not gonna lie to you. There are
maybe we are the dummies. Maybe she has been right the whole time.
There are some things in those tweets that I'm like, oh crap. You know, she somehow ended up backdoor covering her way into being correct. And so, last but not least, before we get to Dave Aranda, a pretty blunt Dave Aranda, by the way. He was
got some good quotes in there.
Before we get to Dave, I do want to put this out here. I'm not taking. I know there are coaches that listen to this show and big fans and everybody. I don't want to take away the fact that Baylor won the last 3 games against Texas Tech and Oklahoma and Kansas. I don't want to take away the fact that Baylor had a lot of bright spots. I do want to bring up the fact Texas Tech, Kansas, and Oklahoma are kind of bad football teams. I don't know if we really considered
we learned some more this week.
We didn't consider that in the moment, but they are kind of bad at football. So
I thought about that watching Oklahoma's brain dead offense yesterday and being like, oof, you know what? We let this team go 10 for 15 on 3rd down, and then Kansas State went 8 for 13 on 3rd down last night. And still there are people asking why, with basically 16 minutes left in the game and down 3 touchdowns, why Baylor's going for it so deep in their own territory. I'm like, they don't trust the defense. They're down 3 touchdowns. Of course they're going for it. It's wild. They're inside their own 20, but of course. I mean, what are you going to do? Punt it and watch them go down the field again?
And also, I love people that are like, yeah, put Kyron Drones in the game, but he still doesn't play linebacker. Well, yeah, the offense only has 3 points, too. Yes. This isn't like a...
Both are bad.
Not mutually inclusive.
You mentioned it a little bit in your open, but one final point we got to get to here.
Yeah,
the people banging the drum of the blackout being the bad luck and the reason why.
When are we going to kill the blackout? Yeah, that was it. That's what did it. Students wore black.
On, dude. You have a legitimately packed house. The students were awesome on Saturday. Got to give it to them. They were awesome.
First thing Dave said was the crowd.
They really didn't leave until that last touchdown, and I couldn't have blamed them if they had left 10 minutes before that, to be honest with you. But they were great, and it looked awesome. Your team wasn't ready to play. That is not the fans' fault. You know, this one is not the fans' fault.
Yep.
It always comes back. That's such a toxic thing about Baylor. And I guess I shouldn't be talking because there are weeks where I get on here and bash our fan base a little bit. But it's always something. It's always something. It can't be that the team had a bad day. It has to be the blackout.
It was the blackout's fault.
And the atmosphere. Right. And it's like, no.
We can never do blackout again.
But then by that flip side, there are going to be so many people who are pissed off by us honing in on how bad the team was in a 31-3 loss. So you can't win. You can't win. It's not LSU where they're putting like death threats on your door as a coach, but it just sucks. Yeah. It was not the fans' fault. I would do a blackout again next week if it got the same steam.
we're way over time.
And that we
Ian-
should say
Ian
blackout next week.
And getting to Dave Aranda. We should do a blackout next week, every week. If it gets him to show up,
Screw
it's
it.
not the reason
Just
Baylor
do it.
lost.
Just do it. Do it till it works.
All right. Before we get to Dave Aranda, I need to tell you guys about Nissan. And the Nissan thrilling moment of the game from Saturday. I just don't have one. I like the Nissan thrilling moment of the game. Every week it's been Dick Reese. It's been something. John Mayer just kicked that field goal if you want that to be it. I'd say today's thrilling moment of the game is you guys meeting my roommate, Caleb. He's going to be really excited about that. That is the Nissan thrilling moment of the game because Caleb's a good dude. And if you guys don't know him, you should know him. Great guy. Loves to hunt. Has a ranch out in Kaufman. So that's the Nissan thrilling moment of Baylor's 31-3 home loss. And the crowd, I guess, was thrilling. Speaking of thrilling things, new designs at Nissan, like the Armada, Pathfinder, Frontier, available at NissanUSA.com. Go check them out at NissanUSA.com. Dave Aranda, what do you got?